Chapter 2961. What's wrong? Gao Ran reacted quickly and helped Qin Chu up. Suyu couldn't care less about Qin Chu. He ran past him and chased after Hua Mian. However, Wei Liao and Tang Chuan held him down. Let go of me, I have to save Mian. Suyu cried and roared. Wurtsu, don't go. There are landmines there. You'll be blown up. You have to find someone to clear the mines first. Let go of me, let go of me. Suyu couldn't care less about the landmines. He ran to the edge of the cliff with all his might. Fortunately, Tang Chuan and Wei Liao used all their strength to hold down the landmines. Behind them, the public security reinforcements arrived with a minesweeper. They quickly cleared all the landmines at the scene. Then Suyu and the others rushed over. After glancing down, everyone fell silent, especially Suyu. His eyes were filled with sadness, despair, and pain. Below them was a bottomless abyss. It was a rolling black wave. At night, the sea seemed to be like a beast howling in the sea breeze. Not to mention a living person, even a plane would be swept dozens of meters away by the waves. A wave would hit them and they would disappear without a trace. Humans were always so small in front of nature. Hua Xiqian hugged Hua Min. After all, they were made of flesh and blood. If the two of them continued like this, there was basically no chance of them surviving. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. In other words, even if they were lucky and found it, who knew how many days it would take? By then the corpse would probably be moldy and there wouldn't be any survivors. Is Hua Min dead? Suyu knelt by the cliff and looked down at the sea breeze and asked dumbly. Lord Su, don't be like this. To be honest, Wei Liao's heart ached when he saw Suyu's dumbfounded look. Do you guys think she's dead? Suyu's voice was trembling. He was terrified. They're all grieving, Tang Chuan said with difficulty, trying not to cry. My condolences, my condolences. How could Hua Min die? She's a genius. She's so awesome, how could she die? You lied to me. You all lied to me. So you seem to have gone mad. It seemed like it was going to fall down any further. Wei Liao and Tang Chuan each grabbed one of his shoulders and dragged him back. At this moment, Tang Chuan suddenly thought of Qin Chu, so he turned around abruptly. Gao Ran, where's brother Qin Chu? He's unconscious. Gao Ran's heart was heavy. The moment Hua Min was carried down by Hua Xiqian, Qin Chu's pupils dilated infinitely. This scene was a blow to him. It was simply killing him. Then in less than 10 seconds, Qin Chu spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with a thud. Gao Ran was so scared that he hurriedly helped him up and then got into the ambulance behind them for emergency treatment. What kind of moral integrity is this? What should we do? What should we do? Tang Chuan hugged his head with both hands and squatted on the ground. He didn't know what to do and started crying. Wei Liao hugged Suyu tightly, trying to calm him down. Gao Ran was panicking. His hands kept trembling. Holding his phone, he trembled as he typed a few words and sent it to Lingling. Hua Min is dead. There were only 4 words. Zhu Lingling called back. As soon as Gao Ran picked up, she scolded him. Damn cop, don't curse my Mian. Do you want to die? Do you want to sleep on the floor tonight? Lingling, Hua Min is dead, Gao Ran said solemnly. Fuck off, you're the one who's dead. Don't make such an unlucky joke. Tell me, did you lose a game and now you're trying to trick me? Zhu Lingling obviously didn't believe him. Lingling, I'm not lying to you, Gao Ran explained again. His eyes were blurred by tears and his voice was sobbing. Chapter 2962. Gao Ran, this joke isn't funny. Stop messing around, okay? Zhu Lingling's voice was filled with fear. Gao Ran didn't say anything. He just remained silent. Then a low sob sounded. Honey, don't scare me. Hua Min was taken away by Hua Xiqian. We chased him to the edge of a cliff. And then, Hua Xiqian jumped down with Hua Min in his arms. With a thud, Zhu Lingling's phone fell to the ground. This time she finally believed that her husband wasn't playing a prank. Something really happened. Gao Ran explained everything that happened in one sentence, but it was too sudden. Zhu Lingling really couldn't accept it right away. Everyone was sad that Hua Min was in trouble. But the saddest were Qin Chu and Suyu. He was still fine. He could still cry, shout, and curse. However, Qin Chu completely exploded at that moment. He vomited blood and fainted. They still didn't know what was going on. After everyone returned, Suyu immediately contacted the rescue team and went to the bottom of Yuewang Mountain to salvage They began to search and rescue near that area of the sea, still holding on to a glimmer of hope. Lord Su, forgive me for being blunt, but it's useless to salvage at this time. The waves over there are very big and even fishing boats won't get close. Humin's thin and weak body can't withstand the roar of the sea. Looking for a person in the vast sea is undoubtedly like looking for a needle in a haystack. Not to mention the possibility of survival. Maybe we won't even be able to find his body. Wei Liao knew that saying this might make Suyu uncomfortable, but these were all facts. He had to analyze them and let Suyu understand the current situation. Shut up. Mion won't die. He won't. I will definitely find her. Suyu furrowed his brows and glared at Wei Liao angrily. He grabbed Wei Liao's collar tightly. Lord Su, let's accept the truth. Humin is dead. Wei Liao was also very sad. He didn't dare to tell Jiang Xiaowei about it. She had known Humin for a long time, but she had seen him being dragged off the cliff by Hu Xiqin. Those who had not seen it with their own eyes would not be able to understand. After Wei Liao said this, Suyu punched him in the face. Wei Liao staggered and almost fell to the ground. Tang Chuan was explaining the situation to the rescue team. Seeing that a fight had broken out, he immediately rushed over. What's wrong with you two? What time is it now? Why are you still fighting here? Tang Chuan cursed. He was silent. He panted heavily. Wei Liao wiped the wound on the corner of his mouth. He didn't blame Suyu. He knew that Suyu needed an outlet to vent his emotions. Lord Su, we've done as you said. You said to search and rescue, so we did. You said to look for people, so we followed you. If we can't find them in a day, then we'll search for a month. If we can't find them in a month, then we'll search for a year. Even if we search for the rest of our lives, we'll search for them. What do you think? Tang Chuan asked Suyu. Suyu bit his lip and didn't say anything. However, his mood was terrible. Yes, he didn't even want to say anything. After a while, he finally asked, Where's Qin Chu? How is he? He's still unconscious and in the hospital. I think no one is sadder than him. Tang Chuan lowered his head, obviously lacking confidence. Let's go, Suyu said as he turned to leave. Tang Chuan grabbed him and said, Lord Su, leave the search and rescue to them. You have to go back first. The twins are still at your house. When he heard the twins, Suyu's expression became even sadder. Chapter 2963. I think Pudding and Little Bean are so smart. We have to tell them about this. No, we can't tell them. What if we find Mion? Suyu immediately denied. Okay, but you should go back and comfort them first. Otherwise, I don't think Auntie can keep an eye on them. Wouldn't it be more dangerous if they run around? Tang Chuan wanted to temporarily divert Suyu's attention so that he wouldn't think about going out to sea to find Humin. With Suyu's temper, if they couldn't find him, he would be devastated. If they found him, if it was a corpse, the blow would be even greater. If they found him and he was still alive, the possibility of that was very slim. Everyone understood this, and Suyu probably knew it too. He was just lying to himself. Then about the search and rescue. Suyu seemed worried. Leave the search and rescue to them, I'm sure they'll do their best. I think my brother-in-law Qin Chu is more important right now. In the end, Tang Chuan convinced Suyu. The rescue team immediately went out to sea to search and rescue. They reported to them in real time. Old Wei, why don't you go back first? Tell sister-in-law Xiaowei about this. He has the right to know. Tang Chuan patted Wei Liao's shoulder. Okay, I'll meet you guys at the hospital when I go back, Wei Liao said. Tang Chuan nodded. Chuan. Lord Su. Wei Liao was a little worried and hesitated. After being buddies for so many years, they had a tacit understanding. Tang Chuan knew what Wei Liao wanted to say, so he nodded. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. I won't let him do anything rash. Okay, that's good. Then Wei Liao left them tiredly and went home. Military hospital. Suyu called his grandfather and specially allowed Qin Chu to go to the military hospital. Firstly, the medical equipment was more advanced, and secondly, the concealment was better. If GK's competitors found out about Qin Chu's illness, they would definitely hype it up and make an issue out of it. When Suyu, Tang Chuan, and the others arrived, Qin Chu was already in the emergency room. Only Gao Ran sat alone on the bench looking haggard. Lord Su, you're back? How is Qin Chu? Fu asked. I don't know yet. I'm also very worried. Gao Ran said. Don't worry, I believe he'll be fine. After that, Suyu and Tang Chuan also sat beside Gao Ran and continued to wait. 10 minutes later, Zhu Lingling arrived, crying all the way. When he saw her, she asked, "Honey, is what happened to me untrue? Why are you here? Didn't you say you wouldn't come out?" Gao Ran's heart ached. How could I not come? Something so serious happened, my heart is breaking. Zhu Lingling's eyes were red and swollen from crying. Then she took out her phone and dialed a number. "I think Mian will be fine. I just called her and her phone was still connected. She might be a survivor," Zhu Lingling said. Sister Lingling, Mian didn't bring her phone. When she was kidnapped by Hua Xiqian, she was wearing pajamas. Her phone should still be at South Hill Manor. We men saw what happened to her with our own eyes. We're very sad. We didn't think that psycho Hua Xiqian would do something so extreme. But this is the truth. My condolences." After Tang Chuan said this, Zhu Lingling hugged her head with both hands, squatted on the ground and cried again. "My Mian, how did this happen?" Just then Qin Ming ran all the way in, out of breath. When she saw Tang Chuan, she squeezed his arm tightly. "Tang Chuan, where's my brother and sister-in-law?" Chapter 2964. Ning, listen to me first. Tang Chuan stood up guiltily. He didn't know how to tell Qin Ning. At this moment it seemed like he couldn't lie to her. He couldn't leave the Qin family in the dark. "Tang Chuan, say something. What happened to my brother? Who's in the ore?" Qin Ning's voice trembled and she was about to cry. When she received Tang Chuan's call, she felt that something was wrong. When she asked him, he said he couldn't tell her over the phone. When she asked where he was, he said he was in the military hospital. So Qin Ning ran to the hospital like crazy. However, even someone as straightforward as Tang Chuan wouldn't tell her directly. Qin Ning already had a bad feeling in her heart. "Ning, I'll tell you. Don't get too excited. Promise me that you'll be mentally prepared. Hurry up and tell me. I'm scared to death." Qin Ning felt her heart begin to race. Because she saw Su Yu, Tang Chuan, Gao Ran, and Zhu Lingling standing at the entrance of the ER. Their expressions were very heavy. This wasn't a good sign. Tang Chuan really didn't have the heart to tell the cruel truth because he knew how close Qin Ning was with her brother and sister-in-law. But at this moment, if he didn't say it, no one else could either. Everyone was devastated. Mian's sister-in-law was carried off the cliff by Hua Xiqian. Big brother Qin Chu couldn't take it and vomited blood and fainted. Tang Chuan gritted his teeth and finally explained the truth with difficulty. After hearing it, Qin Ning was completely dumbfounded. "What did you say?" She thought she might be hallucinating. "Ning, Mian's sister-in-law is dead. Big brother Qin Chu suffered a great blow and fainted. He's still in the ER. Our hearts are heavy." Tang Chuan put his arm around Qin Ning's shoulder and said word by word. "No, I don't believe it. Can't be like that. Can't be like that." Qin Ning was so scared that she took a few steps back and shook her head. Although she said that she didn't believe it, her tears were already falling. "Tang Chuan, you lied to me. You love pranking. You must be trying to scare me, right? Where's my sister-in-law? Where did you guys hide it?" Ning. Tang Chuan looked at Qin Ning's tear-stained face with heartache. "Tang Chuan, hurry up and hand over my sister-in-law. Pudding and Little Bean are still waiting for her to come home. They still need to look for their mother." After Qin Ning said this, everyone's mood worsened. Zhu Lingling's mood, which had just calmed down a little, collapsed again. She leaned on Gao Ran's shoulder and cried, "Honey, without Mian, what are Pudding and Little Bean going to do? They're so pitiful. They're not even 4 years old and they already lost their mother. What should we do in the future?" Gao Ran was a dignified man who rarely shed tears. Even he could not bear this scene. He didn't say anything. Instead, he hugged Zhu Lingling tightly. The couple's hearts were extremely heavy. Su Yu, on the other hand, was numb. Even now, he still couldn't believe what he saw. So he smoked one cigarette after another. There were already dozens of cigarette butts on the ground. It was as if he couldn't hear what Qin Ning and Tang Chuan were saying. Ning, you have to be strong. Take good care of Qin Chu. He has to be strong. He still has 2 kids to take care of." Tang Chuan looked at Qin Ning. "That's impossible. If my sister-in-law really dies, my brother is done for." Qin Ning's face was covered in tears. She shook her head at Tang Chuan. "No, he will be strong for the kids. He's always been a great father," Tang Chuan said. "You guys don't understand at all. My brother." Qin Ning paused. Chapter 2965. My brother can't live without my sister-in-law, Qin Ning said in tears. I know, Ning Ning. I know that Qin Chu loves his sister-in-law very much. Tang Chuan seemed to be comforting her. No, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know what my brother went through in the 4 years in the United States. Qin Ning roared out of control. What did he go through? Su Yu heard the key words and looked up at Qin Ning. Just then the door of the emergency room opened. Young Master Su. The attending doctor walked out and went directly to Su Yu. Everyone surrounded him and waited for the results. Dr. He, tell us. Su Yu was already famous in the military because he often visited the hospital with his grandfather when he was young. Therefore, the young and old people in the hospital were very familiar with him. Your friend's condition is very bad. How bad? Su Yu looked at the doctor quietly and asked. Everyone's hearts tightened when they heard this. We found that he was too sad and depressed. He must have suffered a huge blow, so he fainted and vomited blood. Yes, he just went through a catastrophe, Su Yu explained. That's not the most serious problem. The most serious problem is that we found an unknown drug in his body. This drug will corrode his internal organs. And it should have been for a long time. He should have been taking it for a long time, so part of his liver has been necrotic. How can that be? That's impossible. Gao Ran was completely dumbfounded. In his eyes, Qin Chu had always been healthy. That's impossible. Doctor, did you make a mistake? Tang Chuan also interrupted. No, we did a detailed blood analysis and found the unknown drug. As for the liver damage, we did a CT scan. You can look at the scans. Dr. He, what should we do now? Xi was also panicking. He thought that Qin Chu was in a coma because of Hua Min's accident. He would be fine after a short rest. They didn't expect it to turn out like this. This was something none of them had expected. Based on the current situation, his body's condition and the stimulation this time, his brain is already in a deep coma. We may not be able to guarantee when he will wake up. The doctor looked at everyone guiltily. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't guarantee when he will wake up? Zhu Lingling was about to go crazy. I'm very sorry, we've really tried our best, but we really can't do anything about his situation. To put it simply, his current situation is, he has to rely on himself. If he's fast, it'll take 3 to 5 days. If he's slow, it'll take 3 to 5 years. We can't guarantee anything. 3 to 5 years. Isn't that a vegetable? Tang Chuan was also dumbfounded. Hearing this, Qin Ning broke down again. She squatted on the ground and cried. Yes, it's also possible that he won't wake up for 3 to 5 years, or he might never wake up. It's really hard to say, Doctor, he said slowly. How could this be? Su Yu was dumbfounded and fell onto the hospital bench. Everyone was silent. Only Zhu Lingling and Qin Ning's cries echoed in the corridor. Every cry was heart-wrenching. Ning Ning, do you know what the unknown drug your brother took was? And what happened to your brother in the 4 years he was in the States? Su Yu turned his head and asked Qin Ning in a low voice. Chapter 2966. After Su Yu said this, everyone looked at Qin Ning. She turned her head and looked at everyone. She suddenly felt that it was time for this secret to be made public. Her brother had always said that he would keep it a secret and that he couldn't even tell his sister-in-law. However, in the current situation, her sister-in-law was dead and her brother's fate was unknown. There was no point in keeping it a secret. Ning Ning, hurry up and tell us. We're worried sick. Only if you tell us can we get the doctor to treat the illness and save Qin Chu. Tang Chuan looked at Qin Ning anxiously. My brother, actually, during the 4 years he was in the States, he was very, very bad. He missed my sister-in-law so much that he got a disease, Qin Ning said slowly. What disease? Su Yu stood up. He felt that this was a serious matter. This disease is very rare. I'm not a medical student, so I don't know much about it. I only know that it's called paranoia. The scientific name is paranoid personality disorder. Finally, Qin Ning revealed her brother's secret to the public. Paranoid personality disorder? What the hell is that? Tang Chuan didn't understand at all. Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran were also confused. Su Yu reacted quickly. He took out his phone, searched the database and immediately found the description of this disease. Perhaps he wanted to help everyone, so he took out his phone and read in a low voice. Paranoid personality disorder is a type of personality disorder. The number of people with this type of disorder is unknown. People with this type of disorder rarely seek help from doctors. If their spouse or friends advise them to seek treatment, Most of them will deny that they have this disease. This makes it difficult for the doctors who treat them to distinguish the truth. Their symptoms are usually caused by a sudden event or stimulation. Then they often fall into an inextricable state of pain. According to the United Nations Medical Association, people with paranoid personality disorder account for 5.8% of the world's population. Because people with this type of disorder rarely have self-awareness and seriously deny their condition, the actual number may be even higher. Once they get this disease, it's very difficult to cure because when they realize that they have the disease, it's very difficult for them to control and change it. When they seek help from the outside world, it's difficult for others to guide them for too long. Then they'll fall back into the previous pain and confusion. This is a painful cycle of death. Most of the patients are men and there's no known cure yet. After Suyu finished speaking, everyone's hearts turned cold. Fuck, does this mean that even Brother Chin-Chu doesn't know that he has this disease? Because this kind of patient will deny that he is sick? Tang Chuan asked. Qin Ning immediately retorted, of course not. My brother studied medicine and is one of the rare genius doctors with high IQ and EQ. My brother is also one of the rare few who knows about his condition and has been actively cooperating with the treatment. Later, when he saw that the treatment wasn't effective, he prescribed his own medicine. But I know that medicine is bad for his body, but if he doesn't take it, his mind and heart will be tortured. I don't know what to do. Does Huamian know about this disease? Siyu asked. Of course not, my brother forbade her from talking about it. My uncle and the others don't know, only me and big brother Rick know. My brother always told me not to let Huamian know because she'd be so sad. After all, he got this disease because he missed her so much. Qin Ning lowered her head. In other words, when Chin-Chu and Huamin were separated in the States for 4 years, he missed Huamin all the time and got this disease, right? Siyu asked again. Chapter 2967. Yeah, I remember back then Chin-Chu's leg was injured from the plane crash, so he wasn't in a good mood. When he was in the nursing home, he would only smile when he saw Mion's photo. Because he missed her so much, he suppressed himself and didn't dare to go back to see her. Back then, Chin-Chu's leg was seriously injured and he was afraid that he would drag Mion down with him. Plus, he did his own things in secret and got in touch with some mysterious people. I'm not sure about this, but I think Chin-Chu had his reasons for doing things, so I didn't ask. Qin Ning carefully recalled the time when Chin-Chu was in the States recovering from his injury. What are the symptoms of his illness? For example, does he have any abnormal behavior? Is it a mental illness? Zhu Lingling asked curiously. No, he's the same as before. The only serious symptom is insomnia. The most severe insomnia I remember was that he didn't sleep for 5 days and 5 nights. Oh my god, how is that possible? Zhu Lingling covered her mouth in shock. Gao Ran also widened his eyes in disbelief. Chin-Chu had never told him about the things that happened in the States. 5 days and 5 nights? How did that feel? Oh my god, was he sleepy? Tang Chuan looked up at the sky and sighed, his face full of sadness and helplessness. Qin Ning recalled the pain that her brother had gone through and said with tears in her eyes, yes, it wasn't easy for my brother. Maybe it's because of his personality. He liked to shoulder everything by himself and would do anything for my sister-in-law. He didn't need to say much, he just needed to act. During that time my brother was very serious. His eyes were often purple and his pupils were red. He had to sleep. At that time we contacted all the famous doctors in the United States, from psychiatrists, psychologists, and even stubborn sleep therapists. Unfortunately, it was to no avail. At that time, a doctor said that if my brother's condition continued, he would definitely die because his heart wouldn't be able to handle staying up all night. It was very likely that he would suffer from heart failure and myocardial infarction. My brother wanted to come back alive to see my sister-in-law, so he started making his own medicine. Making his own medicine? He's really good. Suyu only had respect for Chin-Chu at that moment. This man who didn't say much and had a proud look on his face was a real man. He had never been like a woman, dawdling about the pain he had suffered in the past. After he came back, he gave Huamin a warm hug and didn't mention anything about the past 4 years. He even talked about his most serious leg injury, which had undergone several surgeries, as if it was nothing. Siyu admired a man like him. Unyielding and arrogant to the extreme. Making medicine isn't easy. In the beginning, my brother used common sense and tried his own medicine. He often got poisoned. Just now the doctor said that his liver was damaged. I think that was the root of the disease. Later he finally found a medicine that could cure his disease, but it couldn't cure it completely. He could only suppress it on the surface, saying that it suppressed the excitement in his cerebral cortex. Basically, it relieves sleep. Since then, my brother got better little by little. But this medicine hasn't stopped for the past few years and he's still taking it. It's just that my sister-in-law doesn't know about it. But if he takes the medicine, will it affect Huamin's baby? So you suddenly thought of a very serious problem. Chapter 2968. I don't think so. When my brother tested the medicine, he focused on our extensive knowledge of Chinese medicine. He was worried that it might affect our future pregnancy. Plus, after my sister-in-law got pregnant with her second child, my brother looked very happy, so there shouldn't be any problems. I thought that their family of 4 would be happy with the addition of another baby, but who knew? At this point, Qin Ning covered her mouth and began to cry again. To be honest, she couldn't accept the fact that Huamin was dead. After hearing Qin Ning's words and learning about Qin Chu's secret, everyone's heart sank. The current situation was that Huamin was dead, and Qin Chu was still unconscious. A family that had been perfectly fine was torn apart just like that. The innocent elderly and children didn't know what happened, and they were still waiting for Qin Chu and Huamin to return. Lord Su, what should we do now? Tang Chuan didn't know what to do and panicked. I'll think of a way. I'll contact the specialists in Jing City and see if there's any other way. We can't let Qin Chu stay unconscious like this. If he wakes up, he'll have a better chance of finding Mian, Suyu said. Tang Chuan nodded, walked over and put his arm around Qin Ning's shoulder. Ning, don't worry. Lord Su has a lot of connections. He even managed to invite the special military doctor for the leaders of Jing City. Qin Chu will be fine. Qin Ning nodded with tears in her eyes and leaned on Tang Chuan's shoulder. Then you guys should go back first. There's no point in staying here. You guys should go home. There are people here 24/7, Suyu said as he looked at Tang Chuan, Qin Ning, Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling. Hey, let us know if you have any news. I'll go back and follow up on the search for Huamin, Gao Ran said. Okay. After they all left, Suyu was about to go in and check on Qin Chu when his phone suddenly rang. Hello, President Su. I'm President Qin's assistant, Xiao Yang. Oh, go ahead. It's like this. I can't contact our President Qin. Do you have any news about him? Is there something urgent at the company? If so, you can tell me and I'll help him deal with it. T said bluntly. That's not it. It's just that President Qin told me to contact you if I can't find him. What else did he say? He also said that if he couldn't get in touch with you, he wanted me to pass a message to you. So, I want to confirm if something happened to President Qin. Yang wasn't stupid. When he heard President Qin's order, he knew that what he was going to do this time was very dangerous. Something did happen to Qin Chu. Suyu knew that Yang was a trustworthy person, so he didn't try to hide it. I knew it. Yang's heart sank. What message did he ask you to pass to me? Go ahead. Through the glass of the ICU, Suyu looked at the man wearing an oxygen mask. He was no longer as beautiful as he used to be, nor was he dazzling. He was just lying there quietly, falling into a deep sleep. They were rivals in love. After Qin Chu died, he should have had a better chance of getting Huamin. But now, seeing him like this, Suyu felt very sad. It was as if his best friend had encountered a life-or-death situation. President Qin told me that this time he's going to do something dangerous. If he doesn't come back, then he asked me to find you immediately and tell you. When little Yang said this, he choked up and was about to cry. Suyu didn't interrupt and just listened quietly. It seemed to be Qin Chu's last words. Chapter 2969. Let me tell you, President Su, that President Hua, also known as Huamin, and their children are in your care. Assistant Yang struggled to say these words to Suyu over the phone. However, Suyu wasn't happy at all. Instead, he felt sad. Okay, I got it. After hanging up the phone, Suyu took a deep breath. This man was really meticulous. Before he left, he had already thought of the worst possible outcome. He must have thought that he would do everything he could to save Huamin. Even if it meant sacrificing his own life, he wouldn't hesitate. The worst possible outcome would be him dying and Huamin surviving. Then he generously entrusted Huamin and the twins to Suyu. Suyu didn't know what Qin Chu was thinking. Was it because he was afraid that Huamin would be too tired to take care of the children, or that he would be too lonely for the rest of his life? Either way, this was a decision made by someone who loved Huamin deeply. Siyu felt terrible. He paced back and forth in the corridor of the hospital. He smoked more than 10 cigarettes. Finally, when he reached for the cigarettes, he realized that he had smoked all of them. He sighed slightly and gently pushed open the door to the intensive care unit. Chinchu was lying there. The entire room was silent. The only sound that could be heard was the beeping of the monitors. He was already an outstanding doctor in the local hospital. If he said that this was a difficult situation, then it was true. So, Chinchu's condition should be very troublesome. He didn't really understand the paranoid personality disorder that Qinning mentioned, but after reading up on it, he knew that it was a very complicated condition. At this time, Huamin fell off a cliff and no one knew if he was dead or alive. Qinchu was in a coma and his life was hanging by a thread. Suyu had actually become the person in charge. Furthermore, it was Qinchu who had personally instructed him to hand over the twins and Huamin to him. It had to be said that he had great trust in him. Two such powerful experts were now either dead or unconscious. Suyu's heart was also on the verge of collapse. If it were not for Wei Liao and Tang Chuan holding him down at that time, he would probably be at the bottom of the sea now. He quietly looked at Qinchu for a while. Tiu said softly, "I've received the message you asked your assistant to pass to me, but what I want to say is, I refuse your request. I just want to say that you should take care of your wife and child yourself. How can you leave them to someone else? I'm not the kind of person who's willing to find trouble for myself. I won't help you take care of your wife and child. So, you're such a cold and arrogant person. You better wake up early and do your own things, okay?" Qinchu's eyes were still tightly shut. He did not have any consciousness at all. "It's decided then. I won't help you. If you don't wake up, your wife and child will have to live on the streets begging for food." Suyu said this in a fit of pique to provoke Qinchu. Then he carefully closed the door and quietly left. Suyu really wanted to find a small bar where no one knew him and drink until he got drunk. He wanted to forget everything and not think about it anymore. He really wanted to wake up tomorrow morning and say good morning to Huamin on WeChat, Dr. Hua. However, he knew that all of this was impossible. Although he still had hope in his heart that Huamin was still alive, everyone knew that Huamin was already dead. His beloved Dr. Hua was no longer in this world. Suyu drove all the way to the old mansion of the Su family in a daze. When the twins saw Suyu come in, they immediately rushed out. "Handsome Su, you're back. Where's mommy?" they asked at the same time. Upon hearing this, Suyu's heart felt as if it had been stabbed. Chapter 2970. Putting Little Bean. "Your mommy," Suyu stammered. "You haven't rescued her yet, have you?" Pudding's heart sank when she saw Suyu's expression. "Pudding, listen to me. It's a little complicated, but I believe your mommy will come back safe and sound." "Come back? Was she taken away by the big bad guy?" Pudding reacted quickly. Suyu really didn't know what to say because if he said something wrong, the kids would definitely be suspicious. But he couldn't just say that their mommy was dead. That would be too cruel to the two kids. "Handsome Su, where's my daddy?" Little Bean tugged at Suyu's sleeve and asked with a confused look. Suyu's nose twitched and he almost cried. He tried his best to control himself and replied, "Your daddy is very worried. He won't give up until he finds your mommy, so he's still busy outside." "Oh, I see." The two kids seemed disappointed. "Were you too good today?" Suyu patted their heads and asked dotingly. "Of course, we were very obedient to Grandma Su." Little Bean pouted and replied, "You're back. Just in time. Come and eat." Lady Su walked out of the kitchen. "What did you make, Mom?" Suyu tried to appear happier, not wanting the kids to see through his thoughts. "I made your favorite food, steamed pork, lotus root slices and sweet and sour fish. Oh, and your favorite tea-flavored lamb chops." Lady Su smiled gently. "Wow, that's great. Then I'll eat more today." Suyu forced himself to smile. Then he held the two kids' hands and walked to the dining table. At that time he thought that if Huamin really died, Qinchu wouldn't wake up. Then he was indeed the one who could take care of the twins and was the closest person to them. After Suyu walked the kids to the dining room, his phone rang. He looked at the number, lowered his voice and said a few words. Then he mysteriously walked to the balcony. Little Bean and Pudding sat on the chairs without saying a word. Little Bean looked at her sister and then looked at Suyu with a complicated expression. "Sis, what are you thinking about? Do you think we can trust Handsome Su's words?" Pudding asked. "Of course, what else could it be?" Would he lie to us? Little Bean didn't think too much about it. I have a feeling that something big has happened. Handsome Sue is acting weird today. Pudding murmured. How can you tell? I think Handsome Sue is the same as usual, Little Bean retorted. Then you must not have noticed his smile. That kind of smile seemed to be forced out with great effort and not from the bottom of his heart, Pudding explained. Oh, you're overthinking it. Mommy isn't back yet. Handsome Sue likes Mommy so much it's natural for him to be worried. But it's not that simple. I keep feeling that he's hiding something from us. Why don't we ask him later? There's no need to worry about guessing here and there. Are you stupid? If he's hiding something from us, do you think he'll tell us? Then what should we do? Little Bean looked innocent. No, I have to go out and make a call. Then Pudding slipped down from the chair and ran out with her phone. Is my sister being too paranoid? Little Bean murmured to herself. When Sue came back from the phone call, he only saw Little Bean and was puzzled. Where's Pudding? She went to make a call. Oh, who did she call? Sue was even more curious. I don't know. But by the way, Handsome Sue, are you hiding something from us? Little Bean pouted and asked. Chapter 2971. Why do you ask? Sue asked guiltily. Because my sister said you were acting weird today. Did I? Sue felt even more guilty. Who knows? My reaction wasn't as fast as hers. My sister is sensitive and might be overthinking. But don't hide anything from us or I won't forgive you. Sue looked at Little Bean with a complicated expression and didn't answer. Instead, he picked up a glass of juice and handed it to Little Bean. Drink more juice to replenish your vitamin C. Then, the maids of the Sue family began to serve the dishes. But Pudding still hadn't returned. Why isn't the little girl back yet? I'll go find her. Sue stood up and walked out of the dining room. He walked around and finally found Pudding on the balcony at the end of the corridor on the second floor. She stood there, her small figure. For some reason, when he thought of Huamin's death and the child's loss of her mother, Sue felt terrible. Pudding, it's time to eat. Handsome Sue, come here. I have something to ask you. Sue glanced at her and slowly walked over. Handsome Sue, tell me what happened. Nothing happened. It's just a little difficult to rescue your mother, but it's all temporary. Sue continued to make up white lies. You're still lying to me? Pudding was furious. Pudding, I've already called Uncle Gao Ran Lingling my aunt and Uncle Tang Chuan. Sue's heart chilled. Pudding, the truth is, you've never lied to me. Mommy said that people can't lie. If you tell one lie, you have to use 100 other lies to cover it up. Over time you'll become a liar and lose your reputation. So Handsome Sue, don't lie to me. Even the cruelest truth is easier to accept than a white lie. Sue didn't say anything. Something happened to her, right? Pudding asked. Pudding, I'm sorry. We tried our best but we couldn't save her. Tell me what happened. I want to hear the whole story. Pudding looked at Sue seriously. This gave Sue a lot of mental pressure. He didn't look like a 3-year-old child at all. His mature appearance made Sue not dare to underestimate him. In the end, Sue sighed slightly, walked over and stood beside Pudding. He told her about how Huamin had fallen into the sea. After hearing this, she was silent. After a while, she asked again, what about Daddy? Your daddy is in the hospital right now. He might have suffered too much shock and is still unconscious, Sue said slowly. Pudding's eyes dimmed bit by bit. She didn't cry like the other kids and didn't make a fuss. She quietly turned around and looked into the distance from the balcony. Pudding. Sue reached out and patted her on the shoulder. Handsome Sue, are we going to lose Little Bean and me this time? Daddy loves Mommy so much. He wouldn't live alone in this world. Did they abandon me and Little Bean? Pudding asked sadly. No. Your Mommy loves you very much. She doesn't want to. Listen, Pudding, we can't confirm that your Mommy is dead yet. Maybe she's still alive. I've already sent a rescue team to search for her. Your daddy is only unconscious for a while. He'll wake up, right? Something seemed to flash in Pudding's eyes, but it didn't fall. After pausing for a while, she suddenly turned her head and said to Sue, okay? Chapter 2972. Don't tell Little Bean, she said. Sue didn't speak, but his heart ached even more as if it was being torn apart. Handsome Sue, don't tell my sister. She'll be so sad. I know. Hey, I'm going to eat. Then, before Sue could say anything, Pudding's little figure had already walked downstairs. At this moment Suyu's cell phone rang. It was Tang Chuan's voice. Sup? I want to tell you something. Don't get too excited. Can you promise me that you'll be able to hold on? Tang Chuan said mysteriously. Cut the crap. Tell me. Suyu had lost his patience. I just got the news that the rescue team found a female corpse in that area of the sea, but what? Suyu felt like he was about to suffocate and stop breathing. Female corpse. The word female corpse was the cruelest torture for Suyu. He had never imagined that one day such a horrible word would be used to describe Huamin. However, Tang Chuan liked to say things halfway, which almost drove Suyu crazy. But the corpse was scratched by the rocks and corals at the bottom of the sea, so we can't see what it looks like. So they asked me to tell you to identify it and see if it's Huamin's corpse. The more Tang Chuan spoke, the less confident he became. He was afraid that Suyu would go crazy. After a long while, Suyu finally squeezed out a word. Then I'll wait for you over there. See you in a bit. Then Tang Chuan was about to hang up. However, Suyu said, wait. I have something to ask you. Young Master Tang, you can't keep your mouth shut. I just told you one sentence and you screwed up. What do you mean? Tang Chuan looked confused. Why did you tell Pudding about this? He's just a kid. How can she take such a blow? Suyu was furious. Who told Pudding? You're slandering me again. Tang Chuan wasn't happy. Didn't you say it? I didn't say that. What about Qin Ning? Ning Ning has always been with me. She didn't say anything. Tang Chuan was confused. So you didn't say anything. What? Does Pudding know? Tang Chuan asked again. I'll tell you later. After hanging up the phone, Suyu finally understood. Maybe Pudding didn't call Gao Ran or Qin Ning at all. She just saw that Suyu was in a bad mood. Pudding Tess was pretended to call Prince Huamian. Suyu foolishly told her everything. To confirm his thoughts, Suyu called Gao Ran's cell phone. The result was the same. Gao Ran said that he didn't receive Pudding's call. Pudding is really smart. Suyu sighed slightly. However, she didn't have much of a reaction and was still in the mood to eat downstairs. She probably didn't believe that Huamian was dead just like him. That was why she didn't break down and cry. When Suyu came downstairs, the twins were sitting there quietly eating. Pudding even took the initiative to put food in her sister's bowl. It was as if she had grown up overnight. She was more sensible and well-behaved. Mom, I'm going out. Going out again? You haven't eaten yet? Lady Su was reluctant to leave her son. I'm not eating. There's something urgent at the company. I have to deal with it. You eat with the kids and let them go to bed early. Handsome Su. Pudding turned to look at Suyu. Yeah. Will you stay here tonight? Pudding looked at Suyu longingly. Chapter 2973. Yes, I will. Suyu knew that the child was insecure at this moment. Her parents were in trouble one after another and she was afraid that Suyu would never come back. Therefore, she asked Suyu if he would come back. Suyu rarely stayed at home. However, he still agreed without thinking. Okay, we'll wait for you. Pudding looked at Suyu with relief. You're the best. He wouldn't even let me, his mother, ask him to stay. Lady Su looked at Pudding with a smile. Of course. My sister is with handsome Su. She can easily show off her face, Pudding bragged. Don't be naughty. Don't run around. After dinner, watch TV and go to bed. Do you hear me? Suyu instructed. I hear you. Come back early. If I'm not asleep by then, remember to bring me pineapple buns for supper, Pudding said with a smile. Okay, little foodie. It seemed that Pudding's decision was right. He really couldn't let Pudding know about this. The two children had completely different personalities. If Pudding knew, she probably wouldn't be able to take it. She wouldn't be as calm as Pudding. After Suyu left, Pudding ate a little and left the table. Pudding, you didn't eat much. What's wrong? You don't have an appetite? Lady Su asked. Yeah, I don't feel like eating. Is the food not to your liking? No, it's my own fault. Maybe I'm not hungry recently. Grandma Su, take your time. I'm going upstairs to rest. Sis, your favorite financial show is coming up soon. Pudding looked at her watch and reminded her sister. No, I'm a little sleepy. I'm going to sleep. Pudding didn't know what was wrong with her sister, so she didn't dare to ask. After Pudding went upstairs, Lady Su asked Pudding worriedly. What's wrong with Pudding? Did you two fight? No, I haven't provoked her for 2 days. Pudding looked wronged. Then why do I feel like Pudding is in low spirits? Don't worry about her. My sister is just like that. Sentimental. It's like my dad. She likes to keep everything to herself. Maybe she's in a cold war with Wei Yunchu. Who knows? Little Bean was a completely ignorant person, so she always thought that her parents were fine and that she was still living in a happy childhood. A bedroom on the second floor because the twins were staying over. Lady Sue specially ordered a new 4-piece bedsheet set from Luxurious Home Textiles. They were all pink in color and there were many dolls and candies in the room. It was very beautiful, just like a princess room. It was fate that brought them together. Huamian had lived in this house when she was nurturing her baby. The Su family had always kept the room and never let anyone in. This was because Su would occasionally go upstairs to look at these things and reminisce about the time when Huamin had lived in the Su family for a year. Now that the two children had come to stay, it just so happened that they were staying here. After Pudding went upstairs, she slowly walked to the head of the bed. She sat on the big pink bed in a daze. Then she silently took out her phone. She opened the photo album and found a family photo. It was not long ago. One day, Mommy said that the tulips in the yard of South Hill Manor had bloomed and were very beautiful. So she pulled her cold daddy and the two sisters together. They took many photos in the backyard. The most beautiful of them all was this family photo. Chin Chu and Huamin squatted on the ground. Little Bean leaned in Chin Chu's arms, her chubby little hands wrapped around Chin Chu's neck. Pudding and Mommy's faces were very close. The family of 4 had smiles on their faces from the bottom of their hearts. Mommy, Daddy, you'll come back, right? Pudding asked in a tender voice. On the other side, Suyu drove his black Lamborghini to the rescue team's site at lightning speed. I'm here to identify the body, Suyu said coldly. Young Master Su, this way please. A team member took the initiative to lead Suyu to a female body covered with a white cloth. Chapter 2974. To be honest, Suyu's heart was trembling as he walked towards the corpse. He was really scared that the corpse was Huamin. However, he really wanted to take a look. As long as he could deny that it wasn't Huamin, it would prove that Huamin was still alive. At this moment, Suyu's heart was filled with drama. It was like a 100-episode harem drama. It was only a few steps away, but Suyu felt like a century had passed in his heart. Lord Su. Tang Chuan was standing beside the corpse. He saw Suyu from afar and greeted him. Suyu nodded and supported himself as he walked over. I've seen the corpse. I really can't tell anything because the face is disfigured. Take a look. Tang Chuan reached out his hand to lift the white cloth on the corpse. Suyu immediately stopped him. Wait, don't lift it yet. What? I can't take it. Tang Chuan spoke the truth. Suyu glared at him. Does Qin Ming know that you're here to identify the corpse? Of course not. She's been crying all day. If she knew that we found the corpse, she'd cry herself to death. Yeah, let's not tell them about this. I don't think it's Huamin, Suyu comforted himself. But what if it's her? Tang Chuan didn't know what was good for him and asked. Fuck off. Shut your jinx. I'm not jinxing you, Lord Su. It's true that Huamin's sister-in-law died. It's true that she jumped in front of us. We have to be mentally prepared at all times. I know you can't accept this fact. To be honest, I can't accept it either. After all, we were eating and drinking together a few days ago. Now that she's dead, I can't accept it either. But sometimes fate is cruel. It won't stop just because you can't accept it. Tang Chuan's attitude towards this matter was very rational and objective. Suyu knew that he was a sentimental person. He said this not because he was cold or because he didn't have a deep relationship with Huamin. It was because this group of people had gone crazy. They had to leave some rational people behind to deal with the aftermath. I know. I understand. Suyu lowered his head. He was very depressed. Young Master Su, we can identify it now. Can you see if this body is the person you're looking for? The captain of the rescue team walked over and said respectfully to Suyu. Suyu sighed. Then he reached out his trembling hand and lifted the white cloth covering the body. For a moment his heart almost stopped. When he was in the army, he was never afraid of military exercises and real bullets. But at this moment he was terrified. He was really afraid. He was really afraid that this person was Huamin. If that was the case, even his last hope would be destroyed. The moment the white cloth was lifted, Suyu and Tang Chuan both looked over. The body was indeed unrecognizable. Perhaps it was because it had been soaked in seawater for a long time. Therefore the body was a little bloated. There were no decorations on the hands or the neck. Suyu remembered that when Huamin was in the accident he didn't have anything on him. It was said that the only Bulgari necklace on his neck was also taken off and thrown away by Huasiqian. So at first glance it really did match. I can't recognize it. There are no marks on it. Should we do a DNA test? How should we do it? Should we get Jixin or Mion's mother? Tang Chuan asked. No, when I go back I'll just get a strand of Pudding's hair. Right, why didn't I think of that? Because you're stupid, Suyu scolded. Tang Chuan continued. Lord Su, I don't think this body is Mion's sister-in-law. What do you think? Chapter 2975. I can't say for sure, but it doesn't feel like her. Suyu examined the body carefully. The face was disfigured and the length of the hair was about the same as Huamin's. However, it had been soaked in the seawater, so it was impossible to tell. The most important thing was the clothes. The clothes should have been easy to tell, because when Huamin fell she was wearing a white wedding dress. However, when the female body was found she was naked. Because she had been in the sea for so long, she had been scraped by the gravel and coral. Therefore, when the female body was found naked, Tang Chuan definitely couldn't accept it. If she really was Huamian, how could she let Suyu see her naked? How ridiculous would that be? Therefore, Tang Chuan ordered the rescue team to find a female staff member to change the body into a set of hospital clothes. Therefore, it was impossible to identify her from the clothes. The only thing they could do was a DNA comparison. As long as they could get Pudding or Little Bean's hair and compare it with Huamin's, it would be fine. After identifying the body, Suyu's heart was heavy. Do you want to go for a drink? Tang Chuan asked. No, I have to go back. The kids are still waiting for me. You're not really going to raise them in the future, are you? Tang Chuan suddenly said. Suyu's heart ached, but he didn't say anything. On the way back, Suyu received a call from Jixin. Huamin's mother kept saying that she was panicking and that she felt that her daughter had disappeared. Jixin could only call Gao Ran and ask. However, whether it was Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Wei Liao, or Jiang Xiaowei, none of them said a word. Everyone kept quiet about Huamin's whereabouts. In the end, when Jixin asked where the children were, Gao Ran said that they were at Suyu's house. Therefore Jixin called Suyu again. It's hard to explain over the phone. Let's talk about it in person. Suyu decided to tell Jixin about this. After all, he was Huamin's younger brother. If something really happened to Huamin, then Qin Chu's company and Huamin's mother would need someone to take care of them. In a coffee shop near Chuanxi Road, Jixin arrived 5 minutes before Suyu did. When Suyu walked in, Jixin politely stood up and greeted him. Big brother Suyu. Take a seat. Suyu waved his hand and asked Jixin to sit down. I ordered Americano for you. I heard that you don't like coffee with sugar. Who did you hear that from? Suyu was a little surprised. It seemed that very few people knew about this little hobby of his. My sister said so. Your sister? Suyu was slightly surprised. She said that, you don't like coffee with sugar. She also said that Americano tastes like Chinese medicine and is extremely bitter. I even joked and asked if there was something wrong with your taste buds. My sister protected you. She said that people who like Americano are all people who can endure hardships. Big brother Suyu, you're not the prodigal and rich second-generation heir who only knows how to eat, drink, play and pick up girls. No one can compare to your time in the army. Because of this, my sister scolded me. Jixin smiled. So she said that about me? Suyu was slightly touched. Yes, although, you're not with my sister. She actually treats you as a very important friend and will protect you. She's such a protective person. The more Jixin said this, the more Suyu wanted to cry. He picked up the black and strong Americano and took a big gulp. A strong bitterness immediately spread out from the tip of his tongue. Big brother Suyu, where did my sister go? Why can't I reach her? She's not picking up her phone and so is my brother-in-law. Jixin finally asked the main question. Chapter 2976. Something happened to your sister. What happened? Jixin immediately became nervous when he heard that something happened to his sister. Hard to explain in a few sentences. I'll tell you slowly. Then Suyu told Jixin everything that happened. Jixin's face was covered in tears after he heard it. Big brother Suyu, my sister. She's really dead, right? Jixin asked in a choked voice. We're not sure yet, we're still looking for her. How can she still be alive after falling from that place? You guys know that my sister is gone, right? Jixin's tears were messy. Not necessarily, maybe a miracle will happen. How can that be? Life isn't a movie. How can there be so many miracles? No wonder my mom always says that she's worried. Seems that mother and daughter are really connected. If my mom knows that something happened to my sister, how can she live on? Jixin didn't dare to think about the consequences of his mother knowing everything. Don't tell her for now. She's old and can't handle shocks. Suyu also told everyone not to tell Qin Chu and Huamin's parents. After all, they weren't in good health. Is Qin Chu still in the military hospital? Yeah. Suyu nodded. Did the doctor say when he'll wake up? Not yet. Then will he sleep forever? Jixin asked. Suyu couldn't answer. Yes, these were all unknowns and he had tried his best. As for the specifics, we'll have to see what the specialists from Jing City say. I've already contacted them and will see him later, Suyu said. What about the company? What about the company? Damn it, I don't want to go to work. Life is a mess. Jixin lowered his head and sobbed. I'm here to talk to you about the company. Qin Chu isn't here, so I'll leave it to you. Little Yang and that assistant named Bella are both elites and they can help you. You still have to run the company well. After all, it's your brother-in-law's hard work. You can't give it up so easily. What if he wakes up and sees the company in a mess? How would he feel? Brother-in-law will wake up, right? But without big sister, waking up might not be a good thing. It might be even more painful. Jixin knew Suyu better than Suyu thought. Suyu didn't know how to continue the conversation with this little fresh meat. Brother Suyu, my two nieces are at your house, right? Brother Gao Ran said that they are at your house. Yes, at our house. I'll leave it to you then. Take good care of them. I will. Suyu gave a very important promise. The truth was, whether or not Qin Chu said those words, he would take good care of the twins at a time like this. That's good, that's good. Jixin nodded vigorously with tears in his eyes. Brother Suyu, I won't disturb you anymore. If brother-in-law wakes up, please call me immediately. Okay. Then Suyu watched as Jixin walked out of the coffee shop with his head lowered. After walking out of the coffee shop, Jixin burst into tears. He cried from the entrance of the coffee shop to the car, and then he cried as he drove. He even ran a red light. He lost consciousness. There was only one sentence in his mind, and that was his sister was dead. The sister he loved the most, the sister who had doted on him since he was a child, had left them for another world. Jixin was a stubborn person. He wouldn't be like Suyu, clinging to the last glimmer of hope. Therefore he was completely sad and heartbroken. So much so that he didn't even have time to fix the steering wheel. Chapter 2977. Luckily, the car opposite them braked in time. He stepped on the brakes and stopped. Are you an idiot? Didn't you see the red light? Do you want to die? The driver stuck his head out and scolded Jixin. However, Jixin didn't care about anything at this moment. He didn't have the mood to care about this. Jixin didn't dare to go home, afraid that his mother would find out, so he went directly to Bella's place. He knocked on the door. When Bella opened the door, she saw Jixin with tears on his face. Oh my God, what happened? Jixin hugged Bella tightly and began to cry like a child. Bella had never seen such a scene before and was scared out of her wits. Jixin, don't cry. What happened? Tell me. Don't scare me. Bella no longer had the usual calmness on her face. Bella, my sister, is dead. Jixin raised his head abruptly, looked at Bella and said with difficulty. Huh? Bella was dumbfounded. My sister is dead, Jixin repeated. Jixin, don't joke around. It's scary. I have a weak heart. As an employee, Bella didn't know about Huamin's kidnapping, so she didn't know about the cliff. So when Jixin said it, she was indeed dumbfounded. My sister was kidnapped by Huasiqian, that big bad guy. Then he dragged my sister and jumped off the cliff. The cliff was thousands of feet high. There was a fierce sea below. My sister was so weak she must have died. Bella, what should I do? I can't lose her. We grew up together and I never thought that she would leave me so soon. I used to tease her and say that I'll take care of her when she's old. Tears and snot dripped down Jixin's face. He didn't care about his image at all as he cried. Jixin, where did you get this news? Is it accurate? Bella tried to stay rational. Of course it's true. Big brother Suyu likes my sister so much he wouldn't joke about something like this. So it was Suyu who told you? Bella's heart sank when she heard the news came from Suyu. Don't stand at the door, come in and talk. Bella pushed open the door and invited Jishin into the room. Do you have wine? I'm so sad. Want a drink? I don't think drinking will solve the problem. What about Chinchu? What did Chinchu say about something so important? Bella asked. Brother-in-law is also unconscious. He's still in the military hospital. That's one disaster after another. Bella widened her eyes, unable to hide the deep sadness in her eyes. I really don't know what the future will be like without my sister. What will my mom and I do? We'll probably spend the rest of our lives missing her. And putting in Little Bean, they're not even 4 years old. What will they do without their mother? Yes, the child is the most pitiful. Where is the child now? Is there anyone taking care of it? Do you want to send it to my house? Bella asked. He's with Big Brother Su. I heard my brother-in-law sent her to him before the accident. President Chin is so wise and can think of everything. I really hope he can wake up soon. President Hu's body hasn't been found and confirmed dead yet, right? I think we should hold on to a glimmer of hope. What if she's fine and was saved by a fisherman just like in the TV series and simply lost her memory? Bella thought naively. Don't be silly. Bella, even an innocent person like me won't believe that, Jishin replied in a hoarse voice. Then the two fell silent. In a war-torn country in the Middle East, boss. Urgent report. It better be urgent or I'll throw you into the sea to feed the sharks, Lu Yen said in a huff. Your sister. Any news about my sister? Lu Yen was a bit excited. Your sister is dead. The man lowered his head and said carefully, not daring to look at Lu Yan's eyes. Chapter 2978. Hearing this, Xiao Fei froze and immediately looked at Lu Yen. Then he realized that her face had turned green and purple. The informant was also trembling with fear. What did you say? Lu Yen thought she didn't hear him clearly, so she gritted her teeth and asked again. Boss, this is news from China. Your sister fell off the cliff with Hu Xiqian at Yuewang Mountain and died. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Yen pointed a silver gun at his head. Bullshit. Do you think I won't shoot you? Lu Yen was furious. Don't be rash. Let's figure out what happened first. Don't vent your anger on them. Xiao Fei immediately stopped her. If you speak again, I'll shoot you too. Lu Yen glared at Xiao Fei with bloodshot eyes. Xiao Fei knew only the professor and Huamin could make Lu Yen so angry. To Lu Yen, they were the only family she had left in this world. Shooting us won't help. What happened has happened. Why don't we figure out what happened first and see if there's a conspiracy? Xiao Fei said rationally. Boss, please spare my life. It's not my fault. I'm just a messenger. The man was scared to death. When Lu Yan's subordinates received the news, they were all terrified. No one dared to report it to their boss, but they couldn't hide such a big thing. Their boss might get even angrier. So, after much consideration, they decided to play rock paper scissors to decide the winner. This unlucky guy lost, so he had to risk his life to deliver the news. Fortunately, Xiao Fei was there to stop him. Otherwise, he would have been a corpse by now. Tell those good-for-nothings in China to call me. I want to know the whole story. After a moment of fury, Lu Yen ordered coldly. Okay, boss. I'll contact them right away. Lu Yen was no longer in the mood to fight. She quietly dropped her weapon on the ground. Her long hair was messed up by the wind. She looked into the distance in confusion and wanted to ask why people were born and why they lived. Was it to lose something? From the moment they were born, they had nothing. As they grew up, they had everything. After that, he watched as the people around him, his family, his friends, his lover, left him one by one. Arranging the fate of mankind should be the cruelest thing in God's hands, right? From the looks of it, living itself was actually a kind of pain. Lu Yen had no tears. She couldn't cry if the news of her sister's death was true. What else could she do? He didn't have the ability to come back from the dead? Regardless of whether they were sisters or brothers, they all had this life but not the next. Lu Yen felt a dull pain around her heart. It made it difficult for her to even breathe. Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yan's messy hair and disheveled appearance. His heart ached as he walked over and reached out his hand, wanting to brush away that strand of hair for her. Don't touch me, Lu Yen said. Hearing this, Xiao Fei's hand froze in midair. Please don't touch me. Let me be alone. When Lu Yan was hurt, she would isolate herself from the world and wrap herself up. No one could get close to her. Not even Xiao Fei, whom she liked. Seeing her like this, Xiao Fei's heart ached even more. At this moment, Lu Yan's watch beeped. She lowered her head and pressed it. Immediately, the person's image appeared in midair. Boss, we're sorry. Please punish us. How did my sister die? Lu Yan's voice was filled with deep sorrow. Chapter 2979. Young Madam Shi. The person on the other end of the line seemed to be afraid of Lu Yan and stammered. Young Madam was kidnapped by Huasiqian and taken to Yuewang Mountain. Qin Chu, your brother-in-law, immediately went to rescue her. We followed them and planned to help them if necessary. But Huasiqian was so extreme that he jumped off the cliff with young Madam in his arms. Did he really jump? Lu Yan obviously didn't believe it. It's true. Many people saw it with their own eyes. Your brother-in-law was the closest to them. He should know better. Where is he? He's receiving treatment in the military hospital. He's unconscious. He's unconscious? What do you mean? Lu Yan's face fell. After young Madam fell off the cliff, Mr. Qin Chu vomited blood and fainted. Maybe he was too shocked. Standing behind Lu Yan, Xiao Fei's heart sank just by listening to the conversation, let alone Lu Yan's. Have you checked the cliff? Are there any caves down there that people could hide in? Huasiqian is a cunning man. I don't believe he would dig his own grave. Lu Yan was experienced and didn't believe it was as simple as jumping off the cliff. I've checked, boss. It's the cliff below. No one has tampered with it. There are no suspicious caves nearby. Hearing this, Lu Yan's heart sank again. Boss, I'm sorry. We've been tasked with protecting young Madam's family. Unfortunately, we didn't do our best. We won't complain if you want to kill us or torture us. The person lowered his head and apologized to Lu Yan over the phone. But Lu Yan wasn't in the mood to talk to him about punishment. She felt as if 10,000 alpacas had trampled on her heart. She wanted to curse but couldn't bring herself to do so. Lu Yan immediately hung up the call on her watch. Yan. Xiao Fei wanted to say something to comfort her. Psycho Xiao, do you think Dad will be as sad as I am when he finds out my sister is dead? It happened so suddenly. I don't think we can come to a conclusion so soon. Why don't we go back to China and take a look? Xiao Fei said. Didn't you say you shouldn't come back? Lu Yan looked at him in surprise. It's different this time. Something happened to my sister's family. We have to go and take a look. Xiao Fei was a very simple person. He was not interested in adding flowers to brocade, but it was necessary for him to provide timely assistance. Qin Chu had personally flown to Russia to perform the complicated surgery when Xiao Fei was shot. Now Huamin was in trouble, Qin Chu was in a coma, and there was a pair of cute children at home. No one could bear to ignore such a situation. Besides, Lu Yan was the baby's real aunt. Yes, we'll leave immediately. Because of Huamin's accident, Lu Yan stopped the war in the oil country. Because he didn't complete the task, he had to pay the employer double the commission. For Lu Yan, this was like cutting off her flesh. She had always valued money as much as her life, but this time she was willing to risk everything. Lu Yan's sudden withdrawal alerted Ian in Israel. Lu Yan left halfway and offered to pay the employer double the commission? It's strange. I've known her for so many years, and she doesn't seem to be a person who doesn't like money. Ian said in fluent English with his hands on his temples and narrowed his eyes. Maybe she had something urgent to do? Do you know where she went after she left? Ian asked. We can't find out. The plane she was on had anti-tracking and positioning radar. We can't find her. This is interesting. She's playing hide and seek with me again? Ian laughed creepily. Chapter 2980. You still can't contact Hua? Ian asked. Nope. What about the informants over there? None of them, one of his subordinates replied. Good. Seems they've all been killed. If we want to know what happened, we'll have to go there. Ian stood up with a smile. Late at night at the Su family's mansion, Lady Su and the nanny bathed the two kids, changed their clothes and sent them back to their room. Siu went over with a few tablets wanting to play games with the kids. However, Little Bean was so tired that she fell asleep. Pudding, on the other hand, was sitting quietly by the bed. She was wearing pink pajamas. Pudding, why aren't you sleeping? Handsome Sue, do you think Mommy will come back? No matter how mature Pudding was at this moment, she was just a poor child who had lost her mother. Suyu felt a lump in his throat. Yes, I believe she will. He loves you guys so much. He won't just leave you guys like this, right? Yeah, I think she will too. She told me before that she wants to see us grow up and get married. She also said that when Little Bean and I get married, she'll be as sad as Daddy. She also said that you'll cry like a dog, Handsome Sue. Suyu, she said bad things about me behind my back? Suyu pretended to be angry, but in fact he was very sad. Yeah. Mommy said that Handsome Sue is so close to us that he'll watch us grow up and treat us like his own daughters. I didn't know she had such a high opinion of me. Suyu pursed his lips. It's late. Pudding, you must go to bed. Handsome Sue, tomorrow. I want to see Daddy. He hasn't woken up yet, Suyu said. I know. I won't disturb him. I just want to see him. Just one look. At least I'll know that he's still here and didn't abandon us. What about Little Bean? Suyu was afraid that Little Bean would know. That's easy. I'll ask Grandma Sue to take her out for dessert. I'll take the opportunity to go in your car. Then we'll see how it goes tomorrow. What you need to do now is to go to sleep. Otherwise, you won't be pretty. All right. Good night, my little Pudding. Good night, Handsome Sue. Suyu gently kissed Pudding's head with the love and care of a father. After coaxing the twins, Suyu couldn't fall asleep. These few days, the bits and pieces of getting to know Huamin were like a movie. Those scenes kept replaying in his mind and he couldn't erase them even if he wanted to. Suyu lay on the bed and took out his phone. He opened a photo of Huamin from a long time ago. It was when Huamin was a doctor at Southside. He was wearing a white coat and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. Although he was dressed very old-fashioned, his eyes were always full of spirituality. Once you fell in love with him, you would never be able to let him go. Dr. Hua, are you afraid that I'll keep chasing you? If you don't accept me, you'll feel bad. If you accept me, you're afraid that Chin-Chu will be sad. That's why you ran away and hid. Come back. I won't chase you anymore. Even if I become gay, I won't bother you anymore. I won't bring trouble to your family. As long as you're alive. As long as you come back. I'll do anything, really anything. Suyu's voice became smaller and smaller. The next morning, he took out a strand of hair that he had painstakingly pulled off when he said goodnight to Pudding the night before. He planned to do a DNA comparison with the nameless female corpse. Chapter 2981. Lord Su over here. Tang Chuan arrived even earlier than Suyu. Did you not sleep last night? Suyu asked when he saw Tang Chuan's dark circles, which were even more serious than his own. Don't mention it. My grandaunt stayed over in my room for the first time and cried the whole night. She used 4 rolls of tissue paper and wetted 2 of my Armani shirts. Then she fell asleep and had nightmares. I didn't sleep much because I wanted to watch over her and let her sleep well. When did you become China's good boyfriend? Suyu glanced at Tang Chuan and asked. Wrong. I'm China's good fiancé. By the way, Lord Su, did you bring Pudding's hair? Yes. Suyu took out a white paper bag containing Pudding's hair. To be honest, I don't know. I wanted to ask you yesterday. Isn't my sister-in-law pregnant? Why don't you just check if the female corpse is pregnant? Tang Chuan asked curiously. You're so uncultured. It's scary. Tang Chuan, come on, let me teach you a lesson today. First, if the female corpse is also pregnant, can you be sure that she's Mion just because she's pregnant? Isn't that a bit too general? Only by doing a DNA comparison can the police confirm the corpse's identity. Do you think you're some kind of god? You think you can just say who she is? Tang Chuan, Second, Mion fell from such a high place and was soaked in the sea for so long. It's very likely that she had a miscarriage. So you can't even be sure that she's pregnant. What's the point of checking? Even if you check, you can't prove her identity. That's a waste of time. Tang Chuan, you have a point. You're lucky that you're talking to me. If you ask Gao Ran, he'll probably curse you to death. If all police officers handled cases like you, they would have been fired long ago. Alright, let's hurry over. Tang Chuan looked embarrassed and did not argue with Suyu. The two of them walked over and handed the hair to the inspector. Half an hour later, young Master Su. Are the results out yet? Suyu asked nervously. Yes, it has been confirmed that it is indeed not Ms. Huamin's corpse. That's good. Su let out a long sigh. The huge stone in his heart was quickly lifted. Actually, this is good news for us. Tang Chuan was elated as well. Continue to order the search and rescue team to expand the search area, Su said to Tang Chuan. All right. What about you? Are you going to the company later? Tang Chuan asked. Su probably hadn't been to Imperial Star since the incident. I'm going to the military hospital. The specialists from Jing City are already here. They're going to treat Qin Chu today. Lord Su, you're really China's best rival in love. Get out. All right, I'm sorry to hold you up. Go now. By the way, Old Wei and the others might come over later. I heard that. Sister-in-law Xiaowei is also seriously ill and has a high fever. Okay, I got it. Su Yu then drove directly to the military hospital. On the way there, he remembered that he had to bring Pudding with him, so he called her. The Su family's chauffeur drove Pudding to Su Yu's car. Then the two of them went to the military hospital together. Pudding, don't cry when you see your daddy later. I know. Today, Uncle Su found a lot of good doctors to treat him. I'm sure he'll wake up soon, Su Yu comforted the child. Don't lie to me. I know that he might never wake up, Pudding said. Who told you that? Su Yu frowned slightly. Chapter 2982. Do you still need to say that? If my daddy's condition wasn't serious, you wouldn't have to find a specialist from Jing City, Pudding said. Su Yu, if you can get a specialist from the military hospital in Jing City, it means my daddy's condition is very bad. Su Yu, no, Pudding, listen to me. Pudding, handsome Su, you just want me to feel better. I understand. It's okay really. I've already thought of the worst case scenario. Su Yu's heart ached slightly. He reached out and patted Pudding's head. Do you believe in handsome Su? Of course. Pudding nodded. Do you believe in your daddy? Su Yu asked again. Of course. Good. Then you must believe that your daddy will be fine. And your mommy will be fine too. Heh. I know you're just trying to comfort me, but it's not wrong to think this way. Pudding sighed slightly. Then Su Yu held Pudding's hand as they walked into the hospital. When they arrived, Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao were already there. Gao Ran was also here, Lord Su, the female corpse. Gao Ran was about to ask Su Yu about the search and rescue team's progress. But when he saw Pudding beside Su Yu, Gao Ran immediately swallowed the rest of his words. Su Yu gave Gao Ran a look and the latter immediately changed the topic. The specialist is already inside. We just need to wait for the results. Let's wait patiently. Su Yu walked over and sat down on the bench by the door with Pudding in his arms. Pudding, can you come stay with Auntie for a few days? Yunchu has been talking about you. Jiang Xiaowei immediately squatted down and held Pudding's little hand. Her heart ached. Jiang Xiaowei's eyes were red and swollen. She must have cried many times. It was said that she had a high fever, so Wei Liao brought her to the military hospital to see a doctor. It's okay, Auntie Xiaowei. My sister and I are fine at Handsome Su's place. Auntie will take you out to play in a few days. Jiang Xiaowei always wanted to do something for the children. If Huamin was really dead, then these two children would indeed be the pitiful Xiaoqiao without a mother. When we want to go out and play, we'll call Auntie Xiaowei and she'll bring Yunchu out, Pudding said. Jiang Xiaowei nodded with tears in her eyes. Rather than saying that Jiang Xiaowei was comforting Pudding, Pudding was comforting her. In fact, with the child's current mental state, how could she be in the mood to play? But if he refused, wouldn't the adults be even more worried? Therefore, in order to make Jiang Xiaowei feel better, Pudding lied. While Jiang Xiaowei and Pudding were talking, Gao Ran pulled Su Yu to the side. He gathered with Wei Liao and the other two and discussed in low voices. How's the identification of the body? Gao Ran asked. The results are out. It's not Mian, Su Yu said. That's great. Gao Ran and Wei Liao were also relieved. Old Wei about that day. Su Yu looked at Wei Liao with some embarrassment. In fact, he wanted to apologize for his impulsiveness that day. After so many years of being buddies, he and Wei Liao didn't seem to have such a big fight. That's not a big deal. Let's not talk about it. The current situation is, what should we do? Should we continue to capture Hua Xiqian's remaining members and ask them if their boss has any other plans? I have a feeling that guy won't kill his people so easily, Wei Liao said. Chapter 2983. Old Wei is right. I was thinking the same thing. Old Gao, I'll leave this to you. Hua Xiqian's business isn't legal. I've collected a lot of information on his crimes. Young Master Shen seems to have a lot of it too. We can take this opportunity to shut down the Hua Corporation. Then you can bring your men and arrest him openly. What happens after we arrest him? Gao Ran asked. Torture him. Whatever. See if we can get anything out of him. Didn't Aching tell Qin Chu about Hua Xiqian's island? But Aching is missing now. We lost contact with him after Qin Chu's accident. We don't know if he ran away or was killed by Hua Xiqian's men. Don't worry about Aching for now. Besides Aching, Hua Xiqian has other men. Don't even let go of the small fry. We can't let go of any valuable clues. Okay, I understand. I'll send my men to arrest him. Send me the evidence of Hua Xiqian's crimes. No problem. Su Yu nodded. The three of them chatted. The door to the ward opened. Su Yu hurried over. He saw Professor Luo from the capital city. Professor Luo was no stranger to everyone. He was a famous professor in the capital city. He had invited Hua Min to the capital city several times, but Hua Min had turned him down every time. But in name he was Hua Min's teacher. Hua Min had won many awards and been promoted because of Professor Luo. Professor Luo was old. He had reached the age where he should retire. Because of his excellent medical skills, the capital city's military doctors were reluctant to let him go. Plus, Professor Luo and Su Yu's grandfather were close friends. So whenever Su Yu asked, he would grant him anything. Professor Luo, how's my friend? Su Yu asked anxiously. This was the first time Su Yu had admitted that Qin Chu was his friend in public. To be honest, even Gao Ran felt warm when he heard Su Yu call him that. Your friend's condition doesn't look good. Professor Luo sighed slightly. Su Yu's heart sank when he heard this. Everyone became nervous as well. Jiang Xiaowei could clearly feel that her hand that was holding the pudding was gradually becoming cold. Professor, what's going on? Can you tell us in detail? Suze was panicking. He knew that a patient that even Professor Luo couldn't do anything about was basically hopeless. He's unconscious and in a deep coma. His physical indicators are very weak. There are two important points. First, the patient doesn't have the consciousness to wake up. In other words, the patient has given up on himself. Second, there's a toxin in the patient's body that has accumulated over a long period of time. It's a psychotropic drug that suppresses the cerebral cortex. It's a bit toxic and his liver has begun to show signs of damage. Then, what will happen if this continues? Su Yu wanted to ask about the worst-case scenario. Pudding watched the heart-wrenching conversation between the old man and Su Yu. Professor Luo lowered his head and looked at the data on Qin Chu's body. Then he looked at Su Yu. He said slowly, to be honest, if this continues, the patient will be brain dead in less than a year. If his liver isn't damaged, he might be able to live in a vegetative state for 3 to 5 years, or even 8 to 10 years. But now that he's in a coma, his liver's necrosis has accelerated. It will only accelerate his death. Death? Su Yu gasped. Chapter 2984. Yes, he won't be able to hold on for long. Once the liver is completely necrotic, even God can't save him. Then, is there no other way? Yes, there are 2 ways to save him. As soon as Professor Luo finished speaking, Pudding stood up before Su Yu could say anything. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel polite enough to interrupt the adults. Grandpa Professor, what's the way to save my daddy? Professor Luo glanced at Pudding and looked at her in surprise. Is this Hua Min's child? He asked. He knew that the patient this time was Hua Min's husband, so he knew when he heard the child call Qin Chu daddy. Yeah, she's one of Hua Min's twin daughters, Su Yu said. Professor Luo looked at Pudding lovingly. Professor Luo nodded and continued, the first way is that the patient has a strong will and a strong desire to live. Maybe he'll be able to wake up. Once he wakes up, everything will be fine. Then, what's the second way? Su Yu asked. Second way. To be honest, the chances are even lower. You can find a better doctor who dares to remove the necrotic organs while he's in a coma. The surgery isn't difficult, but the problem is that the patient won't be conscious. Even after the surgery, he'll still be in a vegetative state. Then his liver might continue to necrosis. Unless the doctor who performs the surgery can find a drug that can remove the toxins from his body, then the liver won't continue to necrosis. But there's another possibility. Even if you find a better doctor who can remove the toxins from Chinchu's body, but Chinchu doesn't want to wake up, then the result will still be the same. He'll be in a vegetative state for 8 to 10 years. So you guys have to be prepared for the worst. Professor Luo's explanation was complicated, but everyone understood. After hearing this, Jiang Shaowei hugged Pudding and began to sob quietly. How can this be? What will happen to the twins in the future? Jiang Shaowei was going crazy. The news of Huamin's death was a heavy blow to her group of friends. Now, Chinchu's situation was even more worrying. Zhu Lingling's throat was basically unable to speak at home. Her mouth was full of mouth ulcers and everything she ate hurt. Even drinking water was painful. Originally, she wanted to go to the hospital with Gao Ran today, but Gao Ran saw that it was useless for her to come. She would only be sadder and angrier. Sure enough, after Professor Luo finished speaking, everyone became listless. Su Yu's mood these days could be described as exploding. She wanted to scold him, but she didn't have the strength to do so. Professor, can you operate on Chinchu? I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's not that I don't want to help you, it's just that I'm not confident. Professor Luo said. If even you aren't confident, then no one in the country would dare to do this surgery. Su was almost desperate. My suggestion is, you can try to contact a liver surgeon in the United States as well as a pharmaceutical doctor. You can detoxify him first, then perform the surgery. Isn't Qin Chu from Harvard Medical School? I think you can try to contact his school, his professors, or his classmates. Maybe there's still hope. Hey, that's all we can do. Thank you, Professor. Su Yu lowered his head dejectedly. You're welcome, I didn't help much. Alright, did you find Huamin? Any news? Professor Luo had been thinking about Huamin ever since he heard that Huamin was missing. Chapter 2985. Not yet. Su Yu said dejectedly. That's a shame. Professor Luo also looked regretful. That's the result of the consultation. I'll go back to Jing City in a bit. Hey, Professor. The car and flight are ready. Thank you for your hard work. Not at all. When you see your grandpa, say hello to him for me. Sure. Just like that, Professor Luo left the military hospital with his assistant. After Professor Luo left, Su Yu walked over and picked up Pudding. Promise me you won't cry. But he'll die. Pudding tried hard not to cry, but she couldn't stop the tears from falling. He won't. Trust me. I'll continue to contact the doctors in the States for him. I'll get someone to contact Rick later. Right. Uncle Rick should have a way. Do you have his number? Su Yu asked Pudding. I don't have Uncle Rick's number. But I think we can get Auntie Cece's number. They're together, Pudding said. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Shaowei, do you have Cece's number in the States? Su Yu looked at Jiang Shaowei and asked. Jiang Shaowei took out her phone and scrolled through it. Then she shook her head. I only have her WeChat. But after she went to the States, she rarely uses WeChat. I haven't seen her post in a long time. Her sister should have it. Su Yu immediately took out his phone and called Nye Lingxian. Nye Lingxian, who was on set, was ecstatic when she received Su Yu's call. President Su. She tried hard to suppress the ecstasy in her heart. Give me your sister's number in the States. Do you need her for something? Yes. Hey. I'll send it to your WeChat later. Then Su Yu hung up. Everyone, let's go back. I'll contact Rick and ask him to contact the doctors over there. They'll definitely cure Qin Chu, Su Yu said to everyone. What about Mian? Jiang Shaowei asked in a hoarse voice. I'll also ask Gao Ran to find Huasiqian's subordinates and ask them if Huasiqian has anywhere else to go. Maybe he's already escaped. Anyways, we can't let go of any opportunity. Don't worry, as long as I, Su Yu, am alive, I will never give up on Huamin. Su Yu looked at everyone and said word by word. Everyone believed that Lord Su was a man of his word, and he was definitely not putting on an act. He would definitely do what he said he would. Handsome Su Little Bean, and I didn't make a mistake in loving you. Pudding leaned over and kissed Su Yu on the cheek. Pudding thought Handsome Su was so handsome at this moment. No matter how long it took, as long as there was hope, as long as he hadn't found Huamin's body, he would never give up looking for her. What kind of stubbornness was this? Wei Liao and Jiang Shaowei weren't surprised because with Su Yu's love for Huamin, this was expected. When I find your mommy, You two have to love me even more. Seeing Suyu act like a spoiled child with a 3-year-old, everyone was speechless. After everyone left the hospital, Suyu asked Jiang Xiaowei and Wei Liao to take Pudding back first. Pudding originally wanted to go back to the Su family, but Jiang Xiaowei took her to the Wei family, saying that she wanted to see Wei Yunchu. Suyu went to see Shin Mingxi first. President's office of the Shin Corporation. When Suyu was brought in by the female secretary, he saw Shin Mingxi feeding Hu Yanyan's daughter. The two of them were very affectionate. It seemed that the rumors about Shin Mingxi bringing a burden with him were true. Lord Su, you're here. When Shin Mingxi saw Suyu, he immediately stood up. Mingxi, give me all the criminal information you have on the Hu Corporation. I want as much as you can. The sooner the better. Suyu went straight to the point. Chapter 2986. Are you going to teach him a lesson? Shin Mingxi was slightly surprised. No. After Suyu's answer, Shin Mingxi was even more confused. Hu Xiqian kidnapped Huamin and committed suicide by jumping off a cliff, Suyu said succinctly. Shin Mingxi was completely at a loss. There was too much information in these two short sentences. Therefore Shin Mingxi couldn't digest all of it. What's with that expression? Suyu looked at Shin Mingxi in confusion. Lord Su, don't mess around. Shin Mingxi obviously didn't believe him. Do I look like someone who would joke around with Huamin's life? Suyu glared at him. Then, did something really happen to Huamin? Yeah, Suyu answered with a heavy heart. How come I didn't hear anything about it? Shin Mingxi was dumbfounded. I kept it a secret. How could you have heard anything? I see. Since Hu Xiqian is no longer around, isn't it useless for you to have these things? I have my uses. Suyu obviously didn't want to say more. Okay, I'll give them to you now. Shin Mingxi was easy to talk to. He opened the safe in his office and opened it with layers of passwords. Then he took out a thick stack of documents. Everything I found is here. Hu Yanyan should have more. But she's crazy right now and emotionally unstable, so I don't know if she'll tell me. Then ask around. The more the better. I want the Hu Corporation to disappear from this city, Suyu said angrily. Yeah, that would be best. People like Hu Xiqian should have died a long time ago. Seeing that Suyu didn't say anything, Shin Mingxi changed the topic. It's just a pity for Huamin. Suyu's eyes darkened and he seemed even more depressed. Qin Chu must be feeling worse, right? Shin Mingxi asked. As for Qin Chu, forget it, I'll talk to you when I have time. I have something important to do now. Alright, I'll leave you to it. If you need anything, feel free to contact me. Okay. Suyu nodded and was about to leave. He glanced at Hu Yanyan's daughter Tian and asked Shin Mingxi. If Hu Yanyan is crazy for the rest of her life, do you really intend to raise this child by your side? I haven't thought that far ahead, but I won't leave her alone for the time being. Tian is innocent. Shin Mingxi looked at Tian and said sympathetically. Then what will you do in the future? You won't remarry? With our status, women would be willing to marry us even if we had 10 children, let alone one, right? Shin Mingxi joked. Not necessarily. If you still want to be with Wei Ying, you can't. Suyu's words made Shin Mingxi's heart tremble. Yes, any woman could accept Tian, but not Wei Ying. The hatred between Wei Ying and Hu Yanyan was irreconcilable, and it still hadn't been resolved yet. If he still wanted to be with Wei Ying, then the child was indeed the biggest problem. Between Wei Ying and me. It's impossible, right? Shin Mingxi laughed self-deprecatingly. He knew how sad Wei Ying was because of what he had done in the past. Don't make fun of yourself. I can see that you still have feelings for her, Suyu said. But she has that kid from the Yi family by her side. Is that kid from the Yi family your match? Shin Mingxi, why are you so unconfident now? Suyu questioned angrily. Chapter 2987. It's not that I'm not confident, but I really don't have the face to see Wei Ying. If they cared about their dignity, then most couples in the world would break up. I think, in a relationship, someone has to play the role of the shameless. If both of them have self-esteem, are arrogant, and won't bow down to anyone, then what's the point of dating? Lord Su, you're like a love expert now. Forget it. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Anyway, you'd better think about the kids. Did my mom call you? Shin Mingxi asked. Don't worry about that. I'm saying this for your own good. You don't have to send them to an orphanage, but you can find a good family to adopt them. You don't have to keep them with you, Suyu said. Lord Su, if something happens to Huamin, Qin can't take care of them and the twins will be homeless. Will you sit by and do nothing? Of course not, Suyu said without thinking. Then it's fine. Put yourself in my shoes. That's different, Mingxi. How is it different? They're both women we like. He smiled bitterly. There's no hatred or misunderstanding between me and Huamin, unlike you and Hui Yanyan. In Suyu's heart no one could compare with Huamin. Shin Mingxi knew he couldn't argue with Suyu about anything related to Huamian. After all, he had been bullied by Suyu. You're good looking. You're right. Suyu, I'm going. Call me if you need anything. Suyu turned to leave the Shin Corporation and received a WeChat message from Ye Lingxian. It was Cece's number in the US. Suyu dialed it without thinking. Hello. A man answered. Hello, I'm looking for Cece, Suyu said in English. Who are you? The man seemed displeased. Suyu reacted immediately. Instead of answering his question, he asked, Are you Rick? Yes. It was indeed Rick's style. He had always been cold and aloof. He didn't even say a word of nonsense. That's great. I'm looking for you. Suyu directly switched to Chinese. You are? Rick wasn't very familiar with Suyu, so he didn't recognize the voice. What's the matter? Rick continued to be aloof. Something happened to Qin. Did you know that? What is it? Suyu then briefly told Rick about the important points. It was about Huamin falling off the cliff and Qin being in a coma. Rick remained silent after hearing that. Rick, are you still listening? Suyu was also depressed. It was difficult to communicate with a taciturn person. He didn't understand why Nie Lingshuan's sister, Cece, would fall in love with such a man. I'm listening. What do I need to do now? Rick knew that Suyu must have a plan to deal with him. The military doctor in Jing City wants to contact Qin mentor or classmate at Harvard Medical School. He wants to find an excellent hepatologist and someone who knows how to make the antidote. He wants to operate on Qin as soon as possible. Okay. We'll keep in touch. Let me know if there's anything new. Okay. Then Rick hung up the phone. Rick was such a person. When you tell me about it, I will know it in my heart. You don't need to tell me. I'll do it well. Even if I don't show any expression on my face, it doesn't mean I don't care. After hanging up the phone, Rick lowered his head and sat in a corner of the sofa. He was silent. Rick, what's wrong? When Cece came downstairs, Rick had been sitting there without moving for 3 minutes. Qin and Huamin. Something happened to them. Rick raised his head, unable to hide the sadness in his eyes. Chapter 2988. What happened? Cece panicked when she heard the news. It's a little complicated. I'm going out for a while. You should sleep early. Rick? Cece seemed to want to know. She pulled Rick's sleeve and refused to let him go. Rick turned his head and looked at Cece's pitiful eyes. He said gently, You're pregnant. You should take care of your health. It's better if you don't ask. You'll be more worried if you know. Plus it won't help. Leave it to me. You take care of yourself. Okay. Then Rick left the villa. Before he left, he reminded her again. Take good care of Madam. Don't let anyone touch her. Yes. Cece was less than 2 months pregnant. They had been together for many years and were finally going to be parents. Cece's pregnancy was both a blessing and a curse for Rick. He loved Cece deeply, so he definitely loved the child. But with Rick's current situation, if people found out, Cece and the child would be in danger. The Rick family had many enemies. Many people were waiting to take advantage of his weakness. But Cece seemed to be very happy. She had been very careful since she was pregnant. She even paid attention to her diet. She loved cold food, but she even stopped eating ice cream. She just wanted to take care of the baby in her stomach. Now, all they needed was a wedding. Because of the Rick family's mafia status, they couldn't have a public wedding and invite guests from all over the world. That would be telling everyone that they had a wife and now they had another weakness. He didn't want Cece to expose too much because he was afraid that she would be in danger. So when he found out that Cece was pregnant, Rick thought a lot. In the end, he decided to find an island with beautiful scenery and invite a few friends to celebrate. Rick didn't have many friends. He was only close to Qin and Huamin's family. He had talked to Qin Chu on the phone before and expressed his intention. Qin Chu also agreed with Rick's idea of a low-key wedding. It could give Cece a promise and also ensure her and the child's safety. But Huamin was pregnant and it wasn't easy for her to fly long distances. Plus, Huasiqian had been restless recently. So, the two men agreed to discuss the details of the wedding after this matter was resolved. Unfortunately, man proposes but God disposes. Huasiqian's big move caught everyone off guard. Rick knew that if Su Yu called him personally, it couldn't be fake news. Moreover, Su Yu and Qin Chu had witnessed Huasiqian jumping off the cliff with Huamin in his arms. Rick's mood was very heavy. His personality was similar to Qin Chu's. When he was in a bad mood he just spoke less than usual. After answering Su Yu's call, Rick took a few of his men and went to Qin Chu's medical school in the United States. He wanted to see if he could solve Qin Chu's problem first. On the other side, Lu Yen and Xiao Fei arrived at Sea City discreetly. Since Lu Yen was an international fugitive, she would change her identity and disguise her face every time she entered the country. At the beginning of June, Sea City was already very hot. People on the streets and alleys were wearing shorts, short-sleeved shirts and light clothes like sunscreen. Lu Yen wore simple denim shorts with suspenders. Inside she wore a white short-sleeved shirt with Minnie Mouse on it. Her long hair was tied into a simple ponytail. She wasn't old to begin with, so she was dressed like a high school student. Xiao Fei had to wear denim shorts and a white short-sleeved shirt with Mickey Mouse on it. The couple's couple outfits were extremely attractive. Even at the airport, some fans mistook Lu Yen, who was wearing sunglasses, for a popular Chinese actress. We love you. A group of fans surrounded her. Lu Yen was so scared that she almost pulled out a knife. Chapter 2989. What are you doing? Seeing that Lu Yen was about to hit him, Xiao Fei was speechless. He grabbed Lu Yan's hand from behind her waist. Others would think they were a couple showing off their love. Before Lu Yen could say anything, she was drowned out by the enthusiastic shouts of the fans. Xiao Fei had been holding her hand and they finally broke out of the encirclement. You got the wrong person. She's not a star, Xiao Fei explained. I don't believe you. Yeah. Beauty, take off your glasses and let us see. Your skin is so good. What makeup do you use? Tell us. Your new works are so beautiful. We went to buy tickets for you. I took my boyfriend to see them 3 times. Beauty, can you post more selfies on Weibo for us? Didn't you say you're single? Is the guy in the matching outfit your boyfriend? He's your agent, right? The fans' shouts almost made Lu Yan's head explode. She swore that if they weren't in an airport she would detonate a bunch of bombs and blow up all these brainless fans. At this moment, a young female star walked out of another VIP passage. Her agent and assistant carried her bag in front and her bodyguards behind her. It was a grand entrance. But I think we've got the wrong person. That's the real deal. After a fan said that, a large group of fans immediately left and surrounded her. Flowers, presents and cheers. It was simply, Lu Yen had been flying around the world since she was a child. To be honest, even a Hollywood superstar wouldn't be like this. Sometimes people in China were too willing to chase after stars and treat them as important. Lu Yen, on the other hand, was a person who lived on the edge of a knife and never interacted with stars. Because they weren't the same kind of people. It almost killed them. Seeing those people leave, Lu Yen finally breathed a sigh of relief. She stuffed a new Louis Vuitton travel bag into Xiao Fei's arms. Do you have to do this? They're just a bunch of kids chasing after stars. Xiao Fei chuckled, finding the scene ridiculous and amusing. The situation was so chaotic at that time. How would I know if there was an assassin who sneaked in to kill me? Well, it's good to be vigilant at all times. But I think the misunderstanding this time is because we're dressed too casually. If you wear your black windbreaker, won't it be fine? Are you crazy? These few months you made me wear a windbreaker on such a hot day. Are you trying to suffocate me to death so that you can inherit my wealth? Xiao Fei, ancestor, you're really thinking too much. What I wanted to say was that most people prefer black, and they don't like to wear short sleeves because they don't want their skin to be exposed, Xiao Fei explained. Lu Yen took out a piece of chewing gum and put it in her mouth. She chewed it and blew bubbles as she replied, that's because they're afraid that they'll be discovered by the enemy if they get hurt. Then they'll lose more easily. Then why didn't you follow the rules? Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yen in puzzlement. That's because I can't get hurt at all. The people who can hurt me can basically kill me. Even if I wear a down jacket, it's useless. After a few seconds of silence, Xiao Fei replied, "You're indeed the most arrogant assassin in history." "Wrong. I'm not an assassin. I'm a real mercenary." Lu Yen smiled smugly. "Mercenary queen, what are we going to do now? Kill people?" Throwing out the words, Lu Yen stood up and walked away. Xiao Fei followed her closely. You're tuning in to the Biao's Wuxiao Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.